والنجم إذا هوى ما ضل صاحبكم وما غوى.
So that's one extreme. But the other extreme is, yeah, we don't care about these kuffar. We're going to speak the haqq. And then they spew all kinds of nonsense also. That's not in the Quran. You're now being aggressive because you think the Quran wants you to be aggressive. Like, you have to be loyal to the text, not not trying to cater to society and not trying to react to society either and go against society either. Both of those are just hawa. They're both just something you want to do. You want to react this way or that way. The book of Allah is not a response. The book of Allah is not a reaction. The book of Allah is a constant. You know, asluha thabit wa faru'uha fis sama. Present it for what it is. You don't have to make it respond to something that comes and goes. And by the way, that's kind of inside the language of when Najmi Idha Hawa too. There are things, seasons will come and go, trends will come and go. But the book is here to stay. It's qayyiman, it stands upright. It's gonna stay. Our value system is like that. And the reason I get worried now is I don't just get a lot of questions. I'm sure scholars, speakers, I'm not one of them, but they get questions, right? And a lot of the questions I get is, how do you respond to this trend? And how do you respond to this new idea? And what's the Muslim response to this and this? Like, we want the Muslim response to things, right? And the issue I have with that is there's something, we're trying to build a building, but we haven't built the foundation. If we had the foundation right, then we would know these trends have come and other trends will come and yet others will come. But this is a constant. And every time new trends come, guess who they cannot tolerate? They cannot tolerate this religion. So the fact that they cannot tolerate this religion doesn't make the religion invalid and doesn't mean you have to reconfigure the message of Islam so that it can less offend the new trend. Because these trends, let me tell you, they're cannibalist. They consume themselves, and new trends come in reaction to these trends, and then others react to those trends, and they keep collapsing on top of themselves. And that's the history of these trends. They're actually rooted in dalal and ghayy and hawa. The three things that the Prophet ﷺ is being told he is free from, and this message is free from, are the three things that are the basis of all these trends. At the heart of all of them is trends. And today, more than ever, you know, I've said this in this series of surahs. I'll say this for you guys too, because it will come up in the next section in more clarity. Religions in the world, ancient religions in the world, they had something in common. They were all based on one fundamental idea. Whatever God it is that, or gods it is that we're going to worship, they're going to protect. If we don't worship them, they're going to hurt us in some way. So we should worship them because that's the best way to keep them off our back, basically. Also, you can pass by, it's fine. I wasn't saying also to you. Like, you got startled with my also. That was an aggressive also, I confess. Okay. Also, they have wishes. And they're like, if we can worship these gods, they will grant us our wishes. So why did people go up like 1,000 steps on top of a mountain and then sacrifice a goat and sit there for 8 hours and do this? Why? Not for spiritual enlightenment. They went up there because, you know, whoever you are, just make that girl fall in love with me because I really want to marry her, and her father said no. And he went up there to just make that happen. Or somebody else made that happen because my neighbor has 2 goats and I just have 1 goat, and I need to be the ultimate goat. So give me another goat, you know? People had these wishes and they just wanted their wishes granted. And what are these wishes that you love so much? Hawa. That's what they are. Our religion and the message of this religion is not rooted in what? It's not rooted in hawa. And you know what's happened in every other religion? Every other religion is rooted. Why should I follow this religion? It will fulfill my hawa in some way. And when I'm saying this about other religions, and you and I are sitting here like, ha, not Islam, we're immune. Alhamdulillah. No, we're not. We have brought hawa into our religion too. You know what's happened? I made so much dua to Allah that I should get into med school, and then I didn't get in, and that's why I don't pray anymore, because my hawa wasn't fulfilled. And so, because the religion should cater to me. I didn't come to surrender to this message. I will follow this message. What do I get in return? What are the benefits? What's the package? Right? This is the consumer religion. And we've brought that mentality into Islam. And now people are having a faith crisis because their consumerism isn't being met. Because it's not on their terms. لَيْسَ بِأَمَانِيكُمْ. And we're going to see this explicitly in the surah. Allah will say, لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. He'll say, أَمْ لِلْإِنسَانِ مَا تَمَنَّى. Oh, the human being is going to get whatever he wishes for? Is that what his thought process is? And that ties directly to وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. This religion is, I cannot sell this religion to someone and say, if you follow this religion, there's no more stress, there's no more anxiety, you're not going to have financial problems, your health will be okay, your cancer is going to disappear, diabetes, blood sugar, in fact, you're going to lose weight, everything's going to be great. Just follow Islam. Islam's going to make everything right. Anybody who followed Islam in Makkah, did their life get better or harder? Life was easy before Islam, man. And then some Sahabi accepts Islam. Now his family's calling him crazy. He's getting kicked out of the house. He's getting beat up. He's getting spit on. He's getting insulted. And he had an easy life last weekend. And now he's like, what is this? What did I just sign up for? It's the opposite of what someone would want. It's the opposite of hawa. You understand that? And so the way that the message was presenting itself and the price you had to pay for following this message itself was proof that it's not hawa. Okay, so that's another important consideration. Now, let's move on to ayah number 4. In huwa illa wahyun yuha. Now the language is getting even more aggressive because the word ma in Arabic is used for negation, strong negation. But in is another, it's in nafiya. There's 2 kinds of, or 3 kinds of in, or even more kinds of in Arabic. And one of them is called in nafiya, the in of negation. And that's what's being used here in the beginning of the ayah, in huwa illa wahyun yuha. For Arabic students or people who are familiar with the language, if you were to say this in very simple language, you would say huwa wahyun. Huwa wahyun. It's revelation. He doesn't speak from his whims. He doesn't speak from things that he loves. It's revelation. It is revelation. And the way you say it is revelation in Arabic is huwa wahyun. But what's happened here? In huwa illa wahyun. And then also a yuha. So there's a lot of additions here. There's an itnab here, right? And there's an excessive speech here, and we have to process why what that's doing there. But before we do, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the meanings of the word wahi, which we commonly translate as inspiration or revelation. But what does this word mean? What are its secondary meanings? Where does it come from, right? So wahyun is maktub, shay'un maktub. Wahi was used for something that was carved into a stone, scratches on a stone, light scratches that you can barely read were also called wahi. Wahyun fil hijr, meaning it's again carvings in a stone, and you can tell, I think somebody wrote something here. سمعت وحات الرعد وهو صوته الممدود الخفي. If you barely heard thunder and nobody else heard it, and you're like, I think I just heard the wahat from wahi, wahat. You know what that means? You barely heard it. And that the barely heard thunder that's very low in volume was actually called wahat. And then waha ilayhi wa awha ilayhi kallamahu bi kalamin yukhfihi. So waha, the verb was used when you speak to someone in a secretive way, or you communicate with someone in a way that nobody finds out. Like when you message someone and their phone goes, ooh, that's not wahi. Because now everybody's like, hey, did you just get a message? Or somebody gets their phone, ding, right? That's not wahi. But if, for example, they do this, you guys don't watch movies, so I don't know how to explain this to you, but like, in the, movies, astaghfirullah, sometimes people are communicating with each other without saying something, and they're like, and it goes like, but they make it all too obvious. They're like, like, but if they're communicating with each other in ways that other people can't tell, which is, by the way, what athletes do sometimes in sports, baseball players, soccer, etc. You can have motions, body motions, and they know they're speaking each other's code. That kind of code can also be called wahi. Or a whisper can also be called wahi. Okay? ومن ذلك الإيقاع المعنى في القلب بطريقة خفية. So from this came the idea of awha yuhi iha'an, which is used in the Quran for inspiration, to put something in the heart in a way that is very secretive. فَأَوْحَى إِلَيْهِمْ أَنْ سَبِّحُوا بُكْرَةً وَعَشِيًّا. Zakaria alayhi salam was told not to speak, right? He was told not to speak for 3 days. You remember that story? When he came out of his quarters and people wanted to talk to him, like what happened? And he had to tell people, that they should do tasbih of Allah. He did it without being direct because he couldn't speak. So Allah uses what? Indirect speech, or, by way of gesture, body language, أوحى إليهم, right? So similarly, وَمِنْ حُصُولِ الشَّيْءِ الْقَوِيِّ فِي الْحَوْزَ بِلُطْفٍ. This is another interesting meaning. It's not related to our discussion, but it's part of the dictionary meaning of the word. Awha was used as a verb for someone who used to be poor and then became rich, like they transformed. So awha was also used for a great transformation. So that's one of its subtle meanings. So subtle communication, putting something into the heart of someone. The idea here is Allah is revealing these words to the Prophet ﷺ, but nobody else can hear that communication. There's Sahaba sitting next to him. Jibreel is talking to him. Nobody hears Jibreel's voice. And the Prophet ﷺ just starts reciting. So the communication is happening secretly, right? That's why the word awha is important here. That they are like, when did he get it? We didn't hear anything. We don't see an angel. But it's in huwa illa wahyun. It is communicated in a secretive way, but it is a very powerful communication.